Hello, guys. Welcome, everybody, to Purple A's podcast. I am your lovely host, Isaac here. We're going to talk about today about the playoff picture NFC wise, as far as basically as of week 13. There was some very interesting games where it really altered a lot of games. It's been very interesting to say the least, week 13. A lot of things that I wanted to cheer for really didn't go the way that I wanted it to. Like, for example, um I mean, there's one game that went our way. The Cowboys beat the Seattle Seahawks, which Dallas Cowboys beat the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams beat the Browns, which was a AFC game, so I think they're behind the Seattle Seahawks as far as that's concerned. And then you got the Detroit Lions beat the Detroit Lions beat the New Orleans Saints, which was a pretty close game. And also the Green Bay Packers beating the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday night, but that means there's actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are four teams: the Rams, the Seahawks, the Packers, and the Vikings. They are all teams that are 6-6. And so as for the Vikings right now, I mean, could you possibly, and as crazy as this sounds, I mean, I can't believe it. The Vikings are this 6 seed. So basically, they have ahead as far as game wise over all 6-6 teams, as far as score differential is. But really, it doesn't feel like it. But that is something to be optimistic about, though. Is But I'm not. But that's for another story. That's for another topic. But right now, as far as like the NFC North, I mean, it's going to be very hard to really take it because the Lions, they have the Chicago Bears next. They have the Denver Broncos. They have us. They have the Vikings, which is us, and then they have the Cowboys, and then they have us again. So maybe could you see them slipping on some games and losing some? I mean, really, I could see 3 games losing. So I could see them losing 3 games, really. I mean, unless they screw up and lose all 5, but I don't know if I see that happening. If they somehow, but if they lose 3, then the Vikings are going to have to win all 5 of their games remaining to be like 11-6. And so if they lost wait, I'm sorry, 11-6, and then if the Detroit Lions, they would be 11-6 as well. So I'm not really sure who goes ahead as far as like that is concerned. I do not know. But I don't think it's going to happen as far as the NFC North. And you can't, as far as the NFC North, I do not know. Unless something drastically happens this season, like if the Vikings win all their games and the Lions lose all their games, that would be crazy. But I highly doubt that. I highly doubt it, though. But right now, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the Vikings and maybe other teams, the Packers are just a game behind us. So they're into the 7th seed, which means that the Packers are very well behind us. So I'm not sure really. I mean, they could probably slip on a few games, really. I think they have the Buccaneers left. They have the Panthers left. They have the Bears again. They have us, and I'm not sure who else they have. Oh yeah, isn't it New York Giants? The Giants, that's right. That's who they have. So I'm not really sure if really they're going to. I mean, that seems like a pretty easy schedule to me. Maybe except for the Vikings. Maybe the Bears. maybe except for the Vikings or the Buccaneers winning against the Packers. I mean, they're overall catching up on you right now as far as I'm concerned. So, I mean, as far as the Seattle Seahawks, the Seattle Seahawks have the San Francisco 49ers next as have them next. So, I'm not really sure if the 49ers. So, I mean, I don't think the Seattle Seahawks are really going to catch up. So, but there's a couple of the teams that you may want to watch out that you may have to. I mean, the Rams, as far as I'm concerned, they play Baltimore next week. I'm not sure what the remaining schedule is for the Seattle Seahawks or the LA Rams, but they could lose both of them. So that means for next week they could both be 6-7, and possibly the Packers. I don't know what's going to go down with them the next game, but you always have to hope they lose. But as far as the Vikings themselves, they control their own destiny from right here because they're in the 6th seed, where basically what I'm saying is maybe forget about the 5th seed. I don't think the 5th seed's really going to be applicable. But right now, you have to go through I mean, the Cowboys, I don't think they're less likely going to screw up their games because they're playing some good football right now. So I don't think that's going to happen. But right now, the margin of error for the Vikings right now is pretty much small. So you cannot literally screw up the rest of your remaining schedule, which in hindsight, the next 2 games is really not that bad. They're not good teams. You're playing against the Aidan O'Connell-led Raiders, and then you're playing against the Jake Browning-led Cincinnati Bengals. That's not a bad schedule. The rest of the 3 are divisional games, so those are going to be key right there. So all these games are key to the Vikings, all 5 of them. Basically, as far as playoff implications, I'm not sure if the NFC North's going to happen, but you can still make something happen nonetheless, though. And you cannot have any more games slip out of your hands, really, like you did with the Broncos and the Bears. So, I mean, if you were basically, because you could have been 8-4. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I could say all I want to, but it still is what it is. So I'm not going to say that basically. But yeah, that is true though. They could be 8-4, and they could be 2 games up ahead of the Packers. So I think they would be pretty much fine, and they would pretty much compete for the 5 seed, but they don't. So really, the 6 seed is really the only thing they can really go after, and they also, if the playoffs were to start now, they would play against the Detroit Lions right now. So we'll honestly see what happens basically if the Vikings control their own destiny, but I'm just going to be a spectator and observe and see what happens. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Skol.